Chelsea Football Club have agreed a deal with Sevilla for the signing of Jules Kounde. This has been a deal that has been going on for a long while now. Over 12 months, Chelsea Football Club have been in conversations with both the player, his camp, and of course, Sevilla, the club. A deal has now been agreed between the two parties after a number of very intense days. Now, Chelsea Football Club do want to see off the competition of Barcelona for this player, who only today have been begging and asking Jules Kounde to refuse to speak to Chelsea to help force a move to the Camp Nou. The player has refused, and as it stands right now, Barcelona have not had an acceptable offer made into Sevilla. The deal between the two clubs is done. Personal terms have been agreed. Chelsea, very close to landing one of their star priority signings. Hit that like and that share button. Let's go. Today's show is sponsored by Private Internet Access. And this is something I use on my personal computers, work computers, and on my devices. Whenever you're using an open network for internet, whether at a cafe, whether you're at the airport, shopping center, wherever that may be, you need to encrypt yourself and ensure that your personal data is being protected at all times. Private internet access is available all around the world. And as I've mentioned, you can use it on your smartphone, your smart TV, laptops, iMacs, whatever it is that you use. This also gives you the availability to access content worldwide. So when you're traveling, it doesn't matter if you want to use your Netflix, the iPlayer, YouTube, wherever you are in the world, the VPN via private internet access gives you the ability to do so. Now, what the Football Terrace can do for you is give you an 82% discount on this product, plus 3 months free. All you need to do is click on the link in the description or scan the QR code on your screen during this video to sign up now. Jules Kounde, an absolute star player, an individual that, as mentioned at the top, Chelsea have been chasing, wanting, and desperate to have as part of their ranks for a long time now. He's the modern-day centre-back. He can play out from the back. He is versatile. He has excellent positional sense. And so far in his La Liga career, has performed at such a high level on a consistent basis for such a young man. Of course, broke into the international scene as well. And yes, Chelsea cooled their interest somewhat this summer. They tried to go and get a slightly better player in De Ligt, who ended up going to Bayern Munich. And there's no harming that. This is fairly normal. This is fairly obvious that this happens every single summer, multiple times between multiple clubs and players. The good thing for Chelsea is that Jules Kounde has been sold on the idea of joining Stamford Bridge for over 12 months. He's agreed personal terms. These personal terms have been reiterated, rediscussed, rethrashed between, via intermediaries a lot of the time, but over the past a year or so, 2 to 3 times. And at the end of each conversation, Jules Kounde has always expressed his desire to want to stay. Now, in terms of the overall deal itself, it's a very interesting one to kind of break down and go through, because the deal is done between Sevilla and Chelsea. This is a fact. The majority of the tier ones have been talking about this for the past 24 hours. Some of the lesser-known journalists have been pushing it a little bit longer. What's really intriguing about this overall situation, though, is the complexity of its breakdown. And the reason I say that is this, because the player is open to joining both Barcelona and Chelsea. In fact, it's been quite widely reported that Barcelona are the preferred destination of Jules Kounde. However, and this is the big however within this circumstance, that doesn't necessarily mean that that is where he will end up. And the reason that I say that is because you're in this situation where Barcelona are trying to negotiate a cheaper price with Sevilla, first and foremost, and that hasn't been successful. 2, Sevilla don't necessarily want to sell to a team that they view as, although a superior club, they view them as a competitor. They don't want to strengthen Barcelona further. And I actually quite like seeing this. I think too often in some of the European leagues, we see this sort of kind of weird level of like this over level of respect. You get it in Germany massively, where it's almost like every single team is built in a specific way to make Bayern Munich a better side. And this is a ridiculous notion to me. I know that that kind of helps their national team, but it's not like Germany are winning more at national tournaments than other top nations in the last 20 odd years. So I like seeing this where we're not going to improve Barca. We're not going to improve Real Madrid. If we're going to improve anyone, let's improve a team outside of a national league at least. But the breakdown is really interesting because Chelsea, they've sent this 50 million plus add-on proposal through that is now being reported as accepted. Sevilla prefer to sell to Chelsea for the exact reasons that I have broken down to you. Kounde might prefer Barcelona, but is happy to join Chelsea. And we've seen this theme so many times this summer, but in different directions. You've seen Rafinha wanting to join Barca, but happy to join Chelsea if the Barca deal didn't happen. Of course, you very rarely get a public statement from the player about any of this because they don't know where they're going to end up. And what you don't want to do is publicly declare your love for a particular club because fans hold it against you. We've seen this with Frankie de Jong. The vast majority of the media, especially here in the UK, have stated an openness, a willingness, a readiness to join Manchester United. The deferred wages may be the issue, but we all know that his preferred outcome would be for Barca to say, listen, we'll pay you money, we want you to stay, and we want you to play. This situation is the opposite for Chelsea of the Rafinha one. Not the opposite. It's the same for them, actually. I disagree. I agree. I get that wrong. It's the same as the Rafinha deal. He prefers Barca, but he's open to joining Chelsea. The difference this time around, he's more open to Chelsea. He's more bought into Chelsea than Rafinha was, even though Rafinha broadly agreed all of his personal terms. He just didn't sign on the dotted line. The great thing here from a Chelsea point of view is that Sevilla want this deal done ASAP so they can move on to other targets. Now, the deal between the two, we'll use my terminology here. The deal is done between Chelsea. When I say done deal, I want to break this down in case you guys don't follow me on Twitter. Done deal is the fee between the two football clubs. Personal terms are the personal elements being accepted. Just because a transfer is on, a done deal is in place, personal terms are agreed, does not necessarily mean, even though it's getting closer, the deal completes. This is the only sting in the tail now for Chelsea. It's the only sting in the tail now for Chelsea. If Barcelona match or better the bid, and if Sevilla accept it, because then the player has to make a personal choice between the two clubs. And even the Chelsea-centric media are stating that he prefers Barcelona. However, Chelsea are confident and feel they're leading the race because Sevilla don't want to sell to them. And it would take a very big, very substantial cash upfront offer. So this is not a deal that's being paid in installments, by the way. This is a deal that is being paid lump sum cash. And it appears, well, we know this, Barca don't have the lump sum cash. If Leeds United would have demanded lump sum cash, Rafinha would probably be, in my opinion, a Chelsea football player. But overall, this is a tremendous deal for Chelsea Football Club to get over the line. This is a wonderful piece of business for them, without a shadow of a doubt. It gives them more strength in depth. It builds for the future. It stops their competitors signing one of the best up-and-coming young defenders in European and world football. And it almost completes their necessity for new centre-backs, new defenders to come in. And then for the remaining month and a bit, the remaining 5 weeks of this transfer window, it's full steam ahead to improve the midfield and to add to the attacking line. Chelsea, just as Man City, as Liverpool, as United and Arsenal, are not finished yet this summer. They haven't completed their transfer window, even though the Premier League is a matter of 2 and a bit weeks away. And this is very, very normal. If you go through most summers and actually review it deeply, most clubs haven't completed their business by the start of the season. Tottenham have done a tremendous job to get theirs done, but Chelsea fans, ask yourself this question: how many of Tottenham's signings would you actually want at your club? And if you're signing that standard of player, could you have got more in sooner? The answer is probably. That's not a dig at Tottenham. I think Tottenham will do very, very well, but you have to contextualize these matters. And this is a brilliant piece of business, as I say, for Chelsea, bringing him in. They will push hard for Kimpembe next. It's a much more difficult deal to get done. The player doesn't necessarily want to leave Again, highlighting this notion that we've seen all summer, because it's being reported on more now than ever before. The players may not necessarily have a burning desire to come to your club, but you still chase them. Do you want to know the reason why you do it? Because the majority of these players are elite professionals. And if they, their club, or collectively decide that they're going to move on and change direction, they will give their all at their new club. They will dedicate themselves to their new club. They will be loyal. They will be professional. They will work hard. Because footballers have a very short lifespan in the grand scheme of things in football. And wasting a season or two sulking that you're not at the club that you desired to be at is a waste of your time and everybody else's. I don't believe Thomas Tuchel would sign a player that isn't bought into the ideas and given his all. So we'll see what transpires with the Kimpembe situation. But Chelsea fans, I want your thoughts and I want your feelings on this situation. Make sure you're smashing like buttons, people, before you leave. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again soon.